Good morning, board members. I wanted to start with an update related to COVID-19 and our ongoing response to the pandemic. Throughout the year, really our top priority has been both to keep serving our members at the high levels of service that we did prior to COVID-19, but as well as to keep our employees and our stakeholders safe. We've continued our day-to-day business environment with roughly 85% of our team members working remotely. And then our focus does remain on serving our customers while we know that our employees are balancing many other priorities in their own households right now. Our core processes do continue to perform quite well. Anthony Sweeney did report out in his executive report during PHBC, but just to recap a few of the primary core process performance. Benefit payment timeliness is exceeding its target of 95%, with its average between January and October of this year being at 97%. And then our overall customer satisfaction rating also remained above the target of 90, coming in averaging around 92%. And then also during the terrible fires again this year in California, we were quick to respond to reassure all of the local retirees who were living in those impacted areas that they would continue to receive their benefit payments, whether those payments needed to be redirected or if we could get those individuals, those retirees set up for automatic deposit. So turning now to the recruitment of our next Chief Investment Officer, we are continuing with that process and our goal to have someone in place early next year. Interviews will begin the first week of December. Meanwhile, I want to take a quick moment to welcome Sterling Gunn to our investment team. Sterling is the new Managing Investment Director over the Trust Level Portfolio Program, and he was a part of a couple of the Monday investment committee panels. He brings a wealth of experience to CalPERS, and we feel very fortunate that we were able to recruit him. It took us a little bit of time to get him over the Canada-US border, but he's here now. And you'll be hearing quite a bit from Sterling over the course of the year with all of the asset liability management agenda items coming to the investment committee. Sterling is replacing Eric Baggeson, who is retiring after more than 16 years at CalPERS. I think many of you know Eric well. Eric Baggeson is retiring after spending many moments here at CalPERS helping the team. He served in a variety of roles here with us during his 16 years. And so on behalf of all of us here at CalPERS, the board, as well as management and employees, I do want to thank him for his service to our members, our 2 million members, and to the entire team in the investment office. We wish him a lot of happiness in his retirement. I know that he and his wife did buy and essentially reconstruct a new home, so this will give him some time to enjoy that. I also want to take just a moment to recognize and congratulate Ann Simpson on her permanent appointment as the Managing Investment Director of Board Governance and Sustainability. Turning to health, you heard some very important discussions over the past couple of days about long-term care, as well as potential design and benefit changes to the health plans. The health plan changes that both Don Moulds and Marta Green brought to you are really quite innovative and could potentially, more likely than not, benefit many of our members and help us continue to provide those high-quality plans while also looking at ongoing cost containment. As far as long-term care, we know that these choices are quite difficult. We're doing everything we possibly can to minimize and mitigate their impact for the participants in the long-term care program. We will continue to explore more options, bring those back to the committee and to the board that would do one of two things: strengthen the program and, again, aid many of the policyholders. Yesterday, also, the Pension and Health Benefits Committee adopted a portfolio rating strategy for the HMO and PPO plans that we do believe will set us on a better path for rate parity amongst all of the plans. The portfolio may present some volatility at the outset. However, after the initial ramp-up period, members will experience more premium rate stability over the long term. In the Finance and Admin Committee, you were presented with the mid-year budget adjustments that represent our ongoing efforts to control our operational costs. The mid-year budget shows that we've reduced expenses by about 12% for the fiscal year. You were also presented with the financial statements that, once approved today, will be published in our comprehensive annual financial report, or also known as the CAFR, in December. And then finally, the most recent funding levels and risk report that was presented by our actuaries shows a slight increase to our funded status. And we know that this will be of interest to our employers, and we also would like to encourage them to continue to use that pension outlook tool that was developed internally between our IT organization and the actuaries, so that the employers can run their own cost scenarios for their agencies. And of course, if they have any questions with any of those results, they should contact their actuary. Every one of our employers has an assigned specific actuary. And then, as far as recent engagement, all of these obviously have been conducted in a virtual manner. The first one is the Diversity Investment Exchange. This was done in October. There were quite a number of opportunities for CalPERS to participate. This was a first-time event directed at leaders in the investment industry. And I think that really the goal of this event was to raise awareness about how to advance diversity and inclusion practices in these organizations. Interestingly enough, the other person on this panel with me was Andrew Junkin, which was the board's former consultant, who's now the Chief Investment Officer for the Rhode Island pension system. So this was a fireside chat format, and it was good to catch up with Andrew as well. And then I also had the honor to participate on a panel that was moderated by Hiro Mizuno, which many of you know. We brought Hiro to the board for some presentations and some insight into work that he had done while he was at GPIF. This was the annual Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. This is a summit that's hosted in Japan. And again, the focus of this discussion was more related to the coronavirus and its impact on sustainable investment practices and business operations for publicly traded companies. I think it's important to note that Japan has the largest number of TCFD reporting companies worldwide. Almost a quarter of all of the reports come from Japanese companies. And I was able to share some of the highlights of our own TCFD report, which Ann Simpson was able to present to you, and then talked more about our work with Climate Action 100 Plus. That was followed by participation in Canada's International Economic Forum of the Americas, also known as the Toronto Global Forum. And that's also an annual event with a mission to really just foster discussion among economic leaders around the world. My session was more focused on the investor's role in economic recovery, and more specifically, our approach to long-term sustainable investing strategies. So as you know, with the end of our 5-year strategic plan coming to a close here pretty quickly, we have been working with our stakeholder relations team and the enterprise strategy and performance team to actively solicit feedback for that next 5-year strategic plan. So to date, we've connected with more than 40 stakeholder leaders representing 25 organizations, just to get their input on, the areas that they think that CalPERS does well, any opportunities or areas for improvement, what do they see as really the external threat landscape, and then also additional potential partnerships that we might be able to form with them. The team has taken a very thorough approach to contact a wide variety of stakeholder groups, including member associations, retiree groups, employer associations, industry associations, legislative staff, consultants, and leaders also in the private business sector, all, I think, who have given us some unique perspectives that we haven't brought into this process in the past. For the most part, the majority view CalPERS as being effective at our core obligation to pay pension benefits and to administer the health plans. But there's also a shared desire to see us focus on achieving our targeted rate of return to fund pension payments. And I think those thoughts did vary across those groups that I mentioned. The key takeaway from the conversations is that, really the stakeholder community is clear about the importance of the health of the portfolio, our ability to hit that assumed rate of return target, to minimize as many costs as we can to the employer and prospectively to the member as well. And then finally, I'll end our outreach summary with the numbers and feedback received from our first ever educational forum. As you recall, the forum took place online in mid-October. Of the 2,600 attendees who had originally registered, we had about 1,600 who ended up actively participating for the two-day event. I think based on some of the industry standards that we've been able to gather, we did expect about a 50% drop in actual attendees. So our numbers are a little bit above that standard. In addition, I think the event proved effective in recruiting more individual agencies than what we've been able to see in the past. While we typically get participation from about 400 individual agencies, the online forum was able to increase that number to about 780, which is about a 90% increase over last year. And then of those 780 agencies, 236, this was the first time that they had ever attended one of these educational events. So certainly the more agencies that we can reach to help support them in their CalPERS roles, the better. And then in our post-event survey, attendees provided positive reviews of the forum and educational sessions overall. If you'd like to see those numbers, I'd be happy to share those with you as well. And then for those attendees who are watching and who registered, the presentations that were done over that 2 days will remain available through the Attendee Hub through mid-February. Now quickly over to the Spotlight on Excellence Award. Of course, one of the highlights of the forum every year is our annual Spotlight on Excellence Award presentation. This award honors outstanding public service and is a peer-nominated award coming from CalPERS' contracting agencies. This year's recipient, which is Trieste Huey from the Fontana Unified School District. So we'd like to actually show her story right now in this video. If we could roll that, please.
Fontana is the largest city in San Bernardino County. We're about 50 miles east of Los Angeles. I'm the food service director here at Fontana Unified. Fontana Unified has a little under 37,000 students enrolled. We have 270 very hardworking, caring food service employees. We try to serve a variety of foods that they all meet very strict federal regulations.
Trieste has always demonstrated an ethical character, resiliency. To me, that's very important, and I know it's something that is very important to the district. She's somebody that gets involved in the groundwork, and you have to be able to get down and dirty to be able to be involved.
The bottom line for her goals are that she needs to make sure that these children are taken care of, that they receive nutritious meals.
I wanted to be a teacher initially, and when I was in college, they were laying off teachers and I was afraid I wouldn't get a job. During college, I would substitute as a food service worker at a middle school. At the time, we were serving bags of chips with nacho cheese and soda for lunch. And it was that point that I just thought, I think we can do better. And instead of complaining about it, I think, you should do something about it. And so I went back to school for a master's degree in nutrition and decided that this was the path that I wanted to take to really try to make a difference. I hear the stories of some of the challenges that our community faces or very specific households are facing, and I feel like there's some action I can take to improve it. I feel like that's what I'm here for. And so even if it's just a tiny little thing to make sure that they have lunch while they're at school, I feel good about it.
During the pandemic shutdown, we had a situation, of course, where our schools were closed. We have students in the community that rely on the school in order to receive their meals. And so Trieste was instrumental in making sure that that service ran smoothly, unbroken.
The problem was, presented to her, and she's very good at acting. Okay, let's get this done. I don't have a lot of time to, start this process. She came up with a solution pretty quick and got a lot of people involved.
So we have an amazing team behind us, as you can see, and they prepare approximately 400 meals for our families and community members, and they prepare fruits and vegetables and dry meals and frozen meals. She encouraged all of us to reach out to our community and just to make sure that kids were being fed, and I think that's been her #1 goal.
We have 45 school sites in the school district. For her to go out and be able to put together a staff like this at all of these schools and to go to each one of these schools and see all of these people that are working alongside each other to put a smile on their face every day, I mean, they deserve it all.
It's really a smooth process, so we just drive through and they give us what we need and we go. I'm really thankful for everything that they do. Sure, everyone else really appreciates everything they do also. And I want to thank everybody for doing it.
She motivated her staff. She encouraged them so they felt good being on the front line.
They have been out there every single day. They've put themselves literally on the front lines of our schools. And I absolutely felt the entire time that they are first responders and still feel that way, that they're out there every day interacting with the community, having to work with each other, not knowing possibly where their peer, their coworker next to them has been or how much risk they have put themselves in working with them. This has been the largest feeding effort in American history, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
As a director, sometimes people feel like they are above certain duties. That's not true.
For one thing, there's no task or job or whatever that's too below her. She's out there on the lines with her department, serving food with the next person.
What I'm finding to be positives during this whole experience is our partnerships that we've had with our other departments here in the district. For example, I had been working with the warehouse supervisor and his team, and so I had walked in one morning. I just said, hey, I want to tell you guys thank you. I know you've been working very hard and really adjusting how you do things to meet our needs. And they all went around and just talked about how proud they were to be part of this. And one of the last gentlemen that spoke was a younger guy, and he said, I've never had to serve in the military, and if my country asked me to serve, I would do it. And he said he feels like this is his way of serving his community, that we don't know what the risks are, and he's still out there, and he's happy to be out there, and just realizing the impact that our team has and how they feel about serving their community has just so proud to be out there and part of this team.
I saw the nomination. It came through my email, from CalPERS. And the very first person I thought of was Trieste.
In a time period where there was high stress and fear, she still dug in and understood her role to be a public servant during a time where there was difficulty.
We're normally the first person that the student sees when they walk on our campuses. They walk into the cafeteria in the mornings and eat breakfast. And my goal is that they're excited about coming in and saying hi to our school lunch hero every morning.
So I think it's always a pleasure to see the spotlight on excellent stories. Just a big congratulations to Trieste. We know that peer recognition is one of the most powerful forms of recognition that you can actually receive. And so that brings me to this year's Our Promise campaign. Remember, Our Promise is the annual charitable giving campaign that provides state employees with a chance to allocate charitable donations through payroll deduction. Of course, many of our nonprofit organizations are in great needs of support this year, and the campaign is certain to make quite a bit of difference. So far this year, we only have about 18% of our team members who've stepped up to donate. We certainly like to see that number climb a little bit higher, but I'd like to thank Don Martinez and Forrest Grimes for chairing this year's campaign team. It has been difficult to come up with the right types of events when we're trying to do this virtually, so I do appreciate all of their efforts and the unique way that they've had to run the campaign this year. So one final note before I close out with the investment performance, this is the last Board of Administration meeting of the year. The next time we will meet will be January 19th and 20th for our annual board education and stakeholder days, both of which will take place online. So now to the investment performance. As of September 30th of 2020, the fiscal year to date is 4.6, the 1 year is 7.8, the 3 year is 6.9, the 5 year is 8.4, and the tenure is 8.2. And with that, I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving, as well as a very nice holiday season. And that does conclude my report, President Jones.